So, the march, please.
So, is Conservative Conference the third of three? The point at which the political ritual starts to turn into a bit of an endurance test, and if I'm honest, I feel a bit like I'm behind enemy lines. But so do the Tories. Manchester is hardly home Conservative turf. They haven't a single councillor on the City Council, and not entirely surprisingly, there's a big anti-Tory demonstration happening near the conference centre right now. The demonstration, I think, is over this way. And to give it our own sort of contribution, we have brought with us a placard which steals two song titles from one of Manchester's finest musical exports, and indeed David Cameron's favourite rock group, the Smiths. I remember a lot of marches like this in Manchester when Mrs Thatcher was in power, and the likes of us never really got anywhere. I mean, do you think this will achieve anything?
No, it's just somewhere. No, not in itself a march. They never do they? No. But it's somewhere, something to build on. You know what I mean, to sort of draw people together. And
ideally, what would you like? What would happen on account of all this activity? Do you want to topple the government?
It'd be nice, but it depends what replaces it, doesn't it?
How do you feel about the Tories being in Manchester?
I think it's very brave of them. It's a Labour stronghold, and I think I'm very impressed that they dared to come here, actually.
Really?
Yeah. We believe in the NHS, and all the changes that the government are making through the White Paper is just completely destroying it.
We're going to have to pay more, we're going to have to work for longer, and we're going to get less out at the end of it.
But it's not all doom and gloom, comrades, because there is a group of workers who successfully defended their final salary pension scheme. Congratulations to the members of Parliament in this country who have the audacity and the nerve to lecture us.
It's quite strange to see Tories in the city because normally they don't exist around here.
Not a single city councillor?
No, they haven't had a city council for about 20 years now.
Okay.
Right, in the midst of glorious Mancunian weather, once more under the breach.
How do you feel being in a city which even now doesn't seem to have much time for the Conservatives? Do you feel like you're behind enemy lines to any extent?
Absolutely not. You ask the community here, which is going to benefit from us being here, which is going to generate more than any conference has ever generated. And Manchester said to us 2 years ago when we came here, come back. And they're saying that to us again, come back.
Why haven't you got a single city councillor here? What is it about Manchester,
well, there's a real
as against other places, that sort of gets in the way?
Well, there's a real challenge. It's not just in relation to Manchester, it's in relation to other cities as well, that the Conservative Party hasn't done as well in cities. And it's one of the things that I mentioned in my speech today, that if we are going to be a party for the whole of Britain, then we need to reach out, we need to broaden our appeal, we need to widen, deepen our appeal and attract other communities and other, people with the same values as ourselves, but people who haven't in the past necessarily thought that this is a party for them.
There will be a lot of talk this week, certainly as far as conference coverage is concerned, about Plan B and the possible need for a change of policy on the economy. Do you think we'll hear anything approaching that?
No. Plan A, the plan to reduce the fiscal deficit and eliminate the structural part of the deficit over the lifetime of this Parliament, is the right plan to follow. I think it's a flexible enough plan to accommodate and allow for what's going on around the world, and I'm sure the Chancellor will tackle that challenge head on tomorrow. But we're seeing the benefits. We're seeing the benefits. Yes, we are.
Of course, families, in Yorkshire, here in Lancashire, every day sit back and think, we can't have a holiday, or we can't really afford to buy that, or we can't replace the school uniforms this year. And they have those concerns. But the one question I say, if you ask any one of those families, those parents, would you choose between having the good life now, maxing out on the credit card, spending what we don't have, or a more stable and secure future for your children?
But isn't the choice?
They'll always look.
The choice for the medium term is hardship. I mean, how do you sell that to people?
Well,
that things are going to get worse before they get better. It's a tough sell.
But I think the country understands that whether they like or dislike what we're doing, the country understands that we had lived beyond our means, that we had borrowed far too much, that we needed to get public spending under control, and the only way we were going to grow as a stable, prosperous economy was to stabilise.
I was at the Lib Dem conference 2 weeks ago. As you're doubtless aware, it was fashionable to have a dig at the Tories from the platform. Here is your opportunity. Are you minded to return fire?
I might just have a little gentle jibe at some of my colleagues tomorrow, but only in the best possible taste.
What do you think of the Lib Dems?
I don't really know. I'm not for them, I'm not against them.
You've got to do what's right for the country,
and it's right for the country to be in coalition with the Lib Dems.
As far as I'm concerned, it's a partnership which is for the benefit of both, but mainly for the country.
Ultimately, both parties are working coherently together to get the issues dealt with.
We're desperately trying to find people who will say anything remotely critical or negative about the Lib Dems, because they wouldn't shut up with critical, negative stuff about the Tories 2 weeks ago.
Well, there isn't anything to say at this moment of time. At this moment of time, we're in government together. When it's at local level, obviously, we're still two opposition parties. But there isn't anything critical to say because they have their beliefs and we have ours.
What do you think of the Lib Dems in general?
Not a lot.
What little do you think of them? You're not a fan with the sound of it?
No,
Why
we're a
not?
bit wet.
Well, there you go. Somewhat hesitant, a little qualified, not loads of it coming out, but nonetheless, she was at least slightly critical of the Lib Dems. I was somewhat bamboozled by this policy announcement about raising the speed limit. Does that fit into a wider narrative about anything? Is this part of a Conservative vision of any kind, or is this just opportunistic?
No, it is part of a Conservative vision in the sense that all the way through the 21,894 regulations that government currently imposes on our citizens and our businesses, we are looking for ways to loosen the regulatory burdens placed upon us so that people can go about their business with a little less interference from the state.
And to those who say it's a cheap shot aimed at the Top Gear constituency?
I'm not a Top Gear fan.
Are you not?
No.
Seriously?
Absolutely not.
You make it easier to do business and you provide a better platform for growth.
So, in its own modest way, as you see it, it's a case study in...
It's a little case study as part of a
Libertarian with a
much,
small L Conservative policy.
much larger picture.
Well, as somebody that's been banned twice, I'm really for it.
On the face of it, this is quite a stayed-on message kind of conference, but if you put the work in, you find that there's one issue really bubbling under everything. And I have to say, it's no great surprise. If there was one policy announcement that came out this week that would send you home feeling great, what would it be?
That we're perhaps doing a little bit more to back away from our involvement with the EU.
Let them keep their rules, let them do what they want, yeah? Free trade, yep. Crossing the borders, yep. Being able to work in other countries, great.
Yeah.
Laws and all the rest of the junk that we have to put up with.
We should be telling Europe on your bike a lot more, and we need to really look at our foreign aid. Perhaps we should have some sort of pot of money that we give for disasters and be more careful where we give the rest to.
How confident are you that come 2015 you'll get a majority Tory government on your own?
Well, that's always the aim, isn't it? I mean, it's a very hard question.
To look forward to 2015 is like forecasting the weather for next summer. We'll see what life throws at us, but I would be hopeful.
I think they've got to be more decisive.
You need a firmer Tory line.
Firmer Tory line.
Right.
Unless the economy picks up, and then we can turn around and say, there you go, we were right.
Big if, though, isn't it?
Well, the way the world's going, yes, it is, but we'll see.
We will.